You wake up every morning and think the world is your opponent. You think the competition is the man driving a nicer car, the woman with a bigger house, the friend who seems 10 steps ahead in life. But you're wrong. They are not your enemy. The real opponent is much closer. The real fight isn't happening out there. It's happening right here, inside you. Every single day, two versions of you wake up. One is hungry, driven, ready to grow. The other is lazy, doubtful, comfortable where they are. And from the moment you open your eyes, those two versions start to fight. It's you versus you. And that battle will decide everything. Think about it. It's not the weather, not the economy, not your boss, not your friends holding you back. It's you. It's the voice that says, I'll do it tomorrow. It's the hand that hits the snooze button when the alarm goes off. It's the mind that says, it's too hard before you've even started. You've been taught to measure yourself against other people, to check if you're ahead or behind. But here's the truth. Other people aren't your standard. Your standard is the person you were yesterday. Did you beat that person? Did you improve? Did you win? Because if you didn't, you lost. Even if you made more money, even if you posted a perfect picture, even if people think you're doing well. The real question isn't, are you better than them? The real question is, are you better than you? Let me tell you something. The most dangerous enemy you will ever face is the one that lives inside your head. That enemy knows your fears. That enemy knows your weaknesses. That enemy knows exactly what to whisper to make you quit. And if you let that version of you win today, it gets stronger. Every time you give in, it gets harder to fight back tomorrow. But here's the good news. The opposite is also true. Every time you push yourself, every time you refuse to quit, every time you beat the weaker version of you, the stronger version grows. And once that version starts to take over, everything in your life changes. This is not about perfection. This is about winning small battles. Getting up when you don't want to. Doing the work when no one's watching. Pushing one more rep, writing one more page, making one more call. Because those little wins, they add up. And over time, they make you unstoppable. This isn't just a motivational quote on a wall. This is a war. And wars are won one battle at a time. One day at a time. And the battleground is your mind. So today, forget about what they're doing. Forget about their timeline, their achievements, their social media highlights. Look in the mirror. That's your opponent. That's who you're here to beat. That's who you must outwork, outlast, and outgrow. Because at the end of your life, it won't matter if you beat them. It will only matter if you beat you. And today, the fight begins. Part 1. Defining your opponent. Before you can win any battle, you have to know your opponent. The problem is, most people think their opponent is out there somewhere. A competitor, a critic, a doubter. But in the fight of life, your true opponent lives much closer. They wear your face. They speak in your voice. They know every excuse you've ever believed. Your opponent is the weaker version of yourself. The one who craves comfort more than progress. The one who would rather be liked than be great. The one who tells you to take it easy when you haven't even earned it. You meet this opponent every morning. They're there when the alarm goes off, whispering, you can sleep a little longer. They're there when you're supposed to work on your goals, suggesting, you've done enough today. They're there when life gets hard, offering, maybe this isn't for you. And here's the tricky part. This opponent isn't evil. They're not villains in the traditional sense. In fact, they think they're protecting you. They want to keep you safe, comfortable, away from risk. But what they don't understand is that safety kills growth. Comfort is the silent killer of dreams. Think of it like this. Inside you, there are two wolves. One is strong, disciplined, relentless. The wolf that chases goals, embraces discomfort, and grows every day. The other is weak, fearful, and lazy. The wolf that avoids challenges, craves instant pleasure, and stays in the same place forever. Every day, These wolves fight for control. And the one that wins, it's the one you feed. The mistake most people make is feeding the wrong wolf without even realizing it. Every time you hit snooze, you feed the weaker version. Every time you scroll instead of studying, you feed the weaker version. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, you hand your opponent the victory. But here's the truth you need to remember. You don't have to destroy the weaker you in one day. You just have to beat them today. One win at a time. One small victory at a time. That's how you take control. Your opponent is patient. They will wait for the moment you feel tired, frustrated, or doubtful, and then they'll try to take over. That's why self-awareness is your first weapon. You must learn to recognize when it's you trying to sabotage you. So, define your opponent clearly. Name them if you have to. See them for what they are, the part of you that wants the easy road. And every time you hear that voice, remind yourself, I'm not here to be comfortable, I'm here to grow. And growth only happens when I win against myself. The first step to victory is knowing who you're fighting. And now, you do. Part 2. Why most people lose the battle. If you know your opponent, why do so many people still lose to themselves every single day? The answer is simple. They underestimate how strong that inner opponent really is. Most people think they'll win when it matters most. During big moments, life-changing decisions, or high-pressure situations. But the truth is, you don't lose in the big moments. You lose in the small, ordinary, boring moments that no one else sees. You lose when you skip the workout. You lose when you choose the couch over the grind. You lose when you promise yourself just this once, but deep down you know it's a lie. The first reason people lose the battle is comfort addiction. Comfort feels good in the short term, but it quietly chains you down. The weaker you thrives on comfort, and every time you give in, it grows stronger. The problem is, most people don't realize they're not just choosing comfort. They're training themselves to avoid discomfort, which means they're training themselves to avoid growth. The second reason is fear of failure. Your inner opponent knows exactly how to use fear against you. It whispers, what if you try and fail? What if you look stupid? What if you waste your time? And because fear feels real in the moment, most people retreat. They choose not to act. But what they don't see is that by avoiding failure, they're guaranteeing it. The third reason people lose is excuses disguised as logic. The weaker you are, the smarter you are, it knows you're not going to fall for obvious lies. So it gives you reasonable sounding excuses. I'll start on Monday. I'm too tired right now. I need to do more research first. These excuses sound harmless, but they kill your momentum. And without momentum, the stronger you never have a chance to take over. The fourth reason is lack of self-awareness. Most people don't even realize they're losing the battle until it's too late. They think life is just happening to them, when in reality, they've been slowly giving away victory to their weaker self for years. And finally, people lose because they fight alone in silence. Not because they have no support, but because they never admit they're in a fight at all. They hide their struggles, act like they're fine, and keep losing in private until their dreams are nothing but memories of what could have been. Here's the harsher truth. You can't win this battle by accident. You win because you decide to. You win because you stop giving your weaker self the upper hand. You win because you get uncomfortable, you take action despite fear, and you stop letting excuses run your life. Most people lose because they don't even realize they're in a war. But now, you do. And from this moment on, you have no excuse to keep losing. Part 3. Morning wins, daily wins. If you want to win the war against yourself, you have to understand one thing. Battles are decided early. The moment your day starts, the fight begins. And if you lose the morning, you usually lose the day. Your morning is the foundation of your mindset. It's not just about waking up, it's about what happens in those first moments after your eyes open. That's when your weaker self makes its first move. It tells you, stay in bed, you deserve a little more rest. It tells you, scroll your phone, nothing urgent right now. It tells you, don't rush, you've got all day. But here's the reality. The first decision you make sets the tone for every decision that follows. If your first move is a win, you've created momentum. And momentum is your most powerful weapon. If your first move is a loss, you've handed the advantage to your opponent before the day has even begun. Think about it like a boxing match. The first round sets the pace. If you come out strong, your opponent feels it. If you come out weak, they smell blood. Your weaker self works the same way. It's looking for the earliest sign that you're willing to back down. This is why winning in the morning is non-negotiable. You need a morning routine that makes you stronger immediately. That could mean waking up at a set time without hitting snooze. It could mean drinking water and moving your body before touching your phone. It could mean writing down your goals before the chaos of the day distracts you. Here's a story. A man once struggled with procrastination for years. Every night he promised himself that tomorrow would be different. But every morning he lost the same battle, lying in bed for just 10 more minutes. Those 10 minutes became 30. That 30 became rushing, skipping his workout, and starting the day in chaos. And every evening he felt the same regret. One day he made one simple change. When the alarm rang, he got out of bed immediately. No negotiations, no just a little longer. Within a week, he noticed something incredible. His mornings felt sharper, his work felt easier, and his confidence started growing. Why? Because he was starting every day with a win. You don't have to climb a mountain before breakfast, but you do need to do something that tells your weaker self, I'm in charge today. That could be making your bed perfectly. It could be reading a chapter of a book. It could be a cold shower. The point isn't what you do. It's that you choose to act with discipline before the day has a chance to pull you off course. The morning is your opening battle. Win it and you've already made the strongest move you can in the fight of you versus you. Part 4. Discipline. Over motivation, most people wait for motivation to start. They think they need to feel ready before they can take action. But here's the truth. Motivation is unreliable. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. If you rely on it, you'll never win the war against yourself. Your weaker self loves it when you depend on motivation because it knows exactly how to make sure you don't have it when you need it. It whispers, you're not in the mood. It reminds you of how tired you are, how stressed you feel, how tomorrow might be a better day to start. And if you wait for motivation to magically show up, you've already lost. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't care about your mood. Discipline doesn't need you to feel excited. Discipline says, we do it anyway. Discipline shows up when motivation is gone, when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you'd rather do anything else. And that's why discipline always wins in you versus you. Think of professional athletes. Do you think they're motivated to train every single day? No. But they do it anyway. They lace up their shoes. They show up on the field. They put in the work. Why? Because they built discipline into their identity. It's not something they try to do. It's who they are. Here's a story. A young man wanted to write a book. Every time he felt inspired, he'd write for hours. But those moments came only once in a while. Months went by and his book remained unfinished. Then one day he made a decision. I'm going to write 500 words every single day, no matter how I feel. The first week was hard. Some days the words felt forced. Some days he hated what he wrote, but he kept going. Months later, the book was done. Not because of bursts of inspiration, but because discipline carried him through the days when motivation was nowhere to be found. That's the difference. Motivation starts the race. Discipline finishes it. If you want to win against yourself, stop waiting for motivation to knock on your door. Instead, create non-negotiable habits. actions you take every single day, without asking yourself if you feel like it. Whether it's working out, studying, creating, or building your dream, make it part of your identity. Your weaker self will always have an excuse ready. Discipline takes away the need for excuses. Discipline says, we do it because we said we would. And every time you act out of discipline, you send a message to your weaker self. You don't run my life anymore. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. And the engines win races. Part 5. The power of incremental gains. When people think of winning in life, they imagine big, dramatic moments, standing on stage with a trophy, hitting a massive goal overnight, or making a life-changing leap in a single day. But the truth is, real victories in you versus you aren't built in sudden explosions. They're built brick by brick, inch by inch, day after day. Your weaker self will always try to convince you that small actions don't matter. It will whisper, skipping today won't hurt. One missed workout doesn't change anything. One day off, your goals isn't a big deal. And it sounds logical until you realize that it's never just one day. Those tiny losses add up, stacking against you until you're buried under the weight of your own inaction. But here's the flip side. Small wins work the same way. One extra rep, one more page, one more call, one more step when you're tired. They seem small at the moment, but over time they create unstoppable momentum. Think about compound interest in the world of money. You invest a little each day, and at first the growth is almost invisible. But keep going, and that small daily investment turns into massive results. The same principle applies to your habits, your skills, and your mindset. Incremental gains compound into greatness. Here's a story. A runner once set a goal to beat his personal marathon time by 10 minutes. Instead of trying to overhaul his entire training program overnight, he focused on improving his pace by just 1% each week. It didn't seem like much, but week after week, that tiny improvement added up. By the time the race came, he didn't just beat his goal by 10 minutes, he crushed it by 20. That didn't happen because of one magical training day. It happened because he kept stacking small wins. The battle of you versus you isn't won in grand gestures, it's won in quiet, consistent effort. The moments no one sees, the choices no one claps for, the habits you repeat until they become who you are. The secret is this. Focus on beating yesterday by just a little bit. If you did 20 push-ups yesterday, do 21 today. If you studied for 30 minutes yesterday, study for 35 today. If you earned $100 today, find a way to earn $101 tomorrow. It's not about doubling your results overnight. It's about being relentless in moving forward, even if the steps are small. Your weaker self thrives on instant gratification, the need to see results now. Your stronger self understands that greatness is built in the shadows, through tiny, consistent victories. Feed the stronger self every single day, and the results will be so big one day, people will call it overnight success. But you'll know the truth. You won because you chose to win a little bit at a time every single day. Part 6. Silence the inner critic. Your toughest opponent in you versus you isn't just the part of you that wants comfort. It's the part of you that talks. The voice in your head that never seems to shut up. The one that questioned every move you make. The one that tells you you're not ready, you're not capable, you're not enough. This voice is your inner critic, and it knows exactly when to speak. It's loudest when you're about to take a risk, when you're stepping into something unfamiliar, when you're trying to grow. The inner critic doesn't need facts, it uses feelings. It will take one small mistake and twist it into proof that you're a failure. It will take one moment of doubt and convince you that you'll never make it. And if you listen long enough, you'll start believing it. Here's the danger. The inner critic sounds like you. It uses your own voice, your own thoughts, your own reasoning. That's why it's so hard to fight. You can't just block it out like a stranger's opinion. It's inside your head, so you have to learn how to manage it. The first step is to recognize it. When that voice starts speaking, don't accept its words as truth. Label it. That's my inner critic talking. Once you give it a name, you create distance between you and the voice. It's no longer you, it's just a voice you're observing. The second step is to challenge it. Ask yourself, is this fact or fear? Most of the time, the critic's words are just fears disguised as logic. You're not ready. You're just scared. You're not good enough. You're just comparing yourself to someone else's highlight reel. The third step is to replace it with action. You don't silence the inner critic by arguing with it forever. You silence it by moving anyway. Every time you act despite fear, you teach your brain that the critic's voice isn't in control. Over time, that voice gets quieter, not because it disappears, but because it loses power. Here's a story. A young woman wanted to start a business. Every time she planned to take a step, her inner critic said, "You're not experienced enough. You'll embarrass yourself." One day, she decided to act anyway. She launched her business, shaky hands and all. The first month wasn't perfect, but she proved something far more important. The critic had been lying the whole time. Your inner critic will always be there. But remember, its goal isn't to destroy you, it's trying to protect you from failure, pain, and rejection. The problem is, it doesn't understand that avoiding risk means avoiding growth. So when the critic speaks, don't let it decide your actions. Hear it, label it, challenge it, either, and move forward anyway. Because in you versus you, the loudest voice isn't always the right one. Part 7. Turning losses into lessons. No matter how strong your discipline is, no matter how much momentum you've built, you will lose battles in you versus you. You'll skip workouts. You'll break promises to yourself. You'll let comfort win. And when that happens, your weaker self will try to turn one loss into a downward spiral. It will whisper, "See, I told you you couldn't stick to it." It'll tell you, "You've already failed. Might as well give up completely." That's how a single bad day becomes a bad week, and a bad week becomes quitting entirely. But here's the truth. Losing one battle doesn't mean you've lost the war. In fact, losses are where the strongest versions of you are built, if you handle them the right way. The first step is to own it. Don't hide from the loss. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Don't make excuses. Own it fully. I lost today. Owning it gives you the power to change it. Excusing it gives power to your weaker self. The second step is to analyze it. Ask yourself, why did I lose today? Was it a lack of preparation? Was it a trigger you didn't anticipate? Was it a moment where emotion overpowered logic? This isn't about shaming yourself. It's about studying your opponent. The more you understand the patterns of your weaker self, the easier it becomes to beat it next time. The third step is to extract the lesson. Every loss contains information about your habits, your environment, your mindset. Maybe you learned that you can't leave your phone next to your bed if you want to get up early. Maybe you learned that you need to prep your meals ahead of time to avoid bad eating choices. Whatever the lesson is, write it down, remember it, and build a strategy around it. Here's a story. A man was training for a fitness competition. One day, after weeks of clean eating, he gave in to a late-night binge. Instead of throwing away his progress, he asked himself, "Why did I fail today?" He realized he had skipped dinner, which made his cravings unbearable. The next day, he adjusted his meal plan. The binge never happened again. That loss turned into the breakthrough that carried him to competition day. The final step is to move on fast. Losses should be analyzed, not relieved. Once you've taken the lesson, the loss has served its purpose. Replay it too long and you'll start believing it defines you. In reality, it's just one moment in a much bigger fight. Every great fighter has been knocked down. The difference is champions get back up with new strategies. So when you lose to yourself, don't waste it. Turn that loss into a lesson and make your weaker self regret ever thinking it could win. Because in you versus you, the fight is never over unless you decide it is. Part 8. The final round. This is it. The fight that's been going on since the day you were born. The fight that never ends. The fight that will follow you every day of your life. You versus you. There's no referee. No crowd cheering. No one to raise your hand at the end. This battle happens in silence. It happens in the moments no one sees. It happens every morning when you wake up and every night before you sleep. Your weaker self wants you to stay the same. Safe, comfortable, predictable. Your stronger self is willing to endure pain, sacrifice, and discipline to become the person you were meant to be. And every choice you make tips the scale toward one of them. We've talked about identity, about persistence, about discipline, about small wins, about silencing the inner critic and turning losses into lessons. But in the end, it all comes down to one thing. Will you show up for yourself when it matters most? The final round isn't some future event. It's today. It's the decision you make right now. Will you push through the workout when you're tired? Will you choose focus when distraction is calling your name? Will you keep going when progress feels invisible? Because here's the truth. You will never fully defeat your weaker self. It will always be there, ready to step back in the ring. But every time you choose to act in alignment with your stronger self, you win that round. And enough one rounds will change your entire life. Imagine yourself a year from now. Do you see the same version of you, making the same excuses, living the same story? Or do you see someone unrecognizable, sharper, stronger, more resilient, more alive? That version is not built by luck. It's built by 1,000 choices you make between now and then. This is the final round, but it's also the first round of the rest of your life. Step into the ring with clarity. Know your opponent. Study its moves. Beat it with discipline. Beat it with consistency. Beat it with belief. And when you get knocked down, because you will, don't stay there. Stand back up. Look your weaker self in the eye and say, "Not today. The bell is ringing. The fight is here. No one can fight it for you. No one can train for you. No one can win for you. This is your fight." So take a deep breath, plant your feet, lift your hands, and swing. The truth is, the fight never ends. You versus you is not a one-time battle. It's a lifelong war. Some days you'll win. Some days you'll lose. But every single day, you get another chance to step into the ring. The version of you that stays comfortable will always be waiting. It will always be ready to pull you back, to remind you of your limits, to convince you to settle. And the version of you that's destined for greatness, it's waiting too, but it won't beg for your attention. It will only show up when you call it, when you act, when you decide. There's no secret formula, no magic shortcut. Just this. Show up for yourself. Every single day. Win the small battles. Push 1 inch further than yesterday. Turn your losses into lessons. Silence the voice of doubt. And when you're knocked down, stand back up with fire in your eyes. Because there will come a day when you look in the mirror and you won't recognize the person staring back. Not because you failed, but because you won so many battles with yourself that you became someone you once thought was impossible. That day is not someday. That day starts with the choice you make right now. The bell is ringing, the gloves are on. It's your fight. It's your life. And it's always you versus you. Because in you versus you, victory is never given. It's earned, one choice at a time.